doesn't seem to be reaching like it normally does. I have to wonder what's going on. Within a minute, I had 2 viewers, 1 like, but then it just fizzled, which is weird because if you go look at my previous few days' numbers, it shouldn't happen that way. Why would it happen? White narrative and just how we're manipulated and the choices, the choices people make. Choosing to, so within a minute, I have 1 troll here. Immediately, I have a troll. How does that make sense to anyone? Especially since these trolls claim to be California, which would mean it's 5 in the morning, 30 in the morning, and they're like, "Hey, I'm gonna wake up to watch this guy so I can troll him but not say anything." Strange how that works. Matt, what's happening? So, I'm talking about Elijah Muhammad, okay? Because I as I said, I was watching this movie called Boulay the Bullet by this black guy. From what I can see so far, does pretty good videos about alternative history. But I find myself on this island because it seems like I'm the only one asking, like how do you pick and choose which parts of history you're going to believe? Which parts you're going to go, well, I'm going to go with the alternative history on this one, or I'm going to go with this one. And really it comes down to what you want to believe. That's all it ever is. Nothing coming out of that plane. That's the part that people just refuse to accept, is that when it comes to history, when it comes to anything, me, Guy Williams, I don't know shit. I know what I'm told. I could not tell you precisely what's going on anywhere else in this country other than right here, right fucking now, right in front of me. I don't know what's happening in my neighbor's house. My neighbor could be building a bomb. My neighbor could have dead bodies in the basement and be have one of those specialized rooms that you see on shit like Criminal Minds, where some guy somehow builds this torture bunker underneath their house. I don't bother to figure out how he built that torture bunker, but he did. Damn it, he did. You don't know shit. You literally only know what's in like a 5-foot window, 5-foot bubble of you. And even then, if it's somebody else standing in that bubble, you don't know what the hell they think. Karen, yo. You don't know if that person's about to snap and pull out a gun and stab you, or pull out a knife and stab you with a gun. You don't know these things. You don't know if the person's just going to start running around flipping, or if that person's going to confess their love to you, or you don't know. And so I always wonder when it comes to especially the truthers out there, how do you decide? How do you pick and choose? I tend to go with what makes sense to me. But I'm very critical of everything, and I scrutinize everything. And I understand that, especially when it comes to the news and stuff, if we're being shown that, it's because they want us to know. So when it comes to all of the Israel stuff, well, we know what they want us to know. And, you have to then apply what makes sense from all the different pieces that you've picked up throughout your journey. Does the narrative you're being told make sense? And when it comes to the bad guys, again, if you look up anything that has to do with that cult, you'd be surprised that what you're being presented is generally the best light they can shine on something. That's why it's presented. And even in the best light they can come up with, the bad guys are really awful people. Their rituals and you know, practices and shit, they're just horrendous. Matitza Bepa is fucking unreal. How is this accommodated in the United States? Why would you, as a cult member, want that done to your child? You know, how do you get brainwashed into thinking that's okay? And you know, the same question can be said to any all you people running around with your masks on, and then your homemade hazmat suits, and you know, you're riding around in your own car with the windows up but a mask on, all alone. Like, you run out and get the next poke that they say to get. How does that brain work? I don't get that one at all. Another plane, nothing coming out of it. I'd love to talk to people about it, but it's like they inherently know that it's wrong. So when it comes to having a conversation about what they believe, what they're doing, what they're accepting, they get mad. You know, my old neighbor across the street, she doesn't live there anymore, but she was really a cool lady. She's 90 some years old. And she would say, you know, she never ever took any pokes. Didn't like pokes, didn't believe in pokes. You know, didn't get, she said, any of the V words, unless I travel. If I travel out of state, then I'll get a booster or something like that. But otherwise, I don't take anything. And I was like, well, what convinced you to that the COVID shit was real? And she didn't know. She just, you know, well, it was so scary. They made it so scary. Gaza isn't a real place. Look how desperate they are. Can't make reasonable arguments, so they make dumb arguments. I don't even, you know, there's not an intelligent person alive that agrees with it. But that's the desperation that they have. They can't, you know, they definitely can't have any conversation on this level. So it's like a pay attention to me thing. It's a bot, obviously. Tim Smith. That's believable. Now he just got a bonus for that. Don't get it twisted. Me acknowledging his comment and then saying his name gets him a bonus. I get it. But there is a point to be made, so got to make the point. Anyway, so we'll restart here. So my question is, this guy was talking about the assassinations of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and stuff, and I think this movie is actually this documentary, whatever, this video. Yep, it's not a fucking place now. It's a bomb site. That's true. But this is called Boule the Bullet. You know, that's what I was watching today. And I think it's more about it's more what's his name? Jesse Jackson than anything else. Horrifying. Israeli hostage Tal Shoham speaks out after 505 days. Horrifying. So it's interesting. The news, this is what popped up below this. The news is going to give all of this press to this guy who for some reason has been, you know, since everything happened, since October 7th, he's been one of two hostages that were shown the whole time with cameras. And I mean, again, it's just like, do you ever question how the narrative is even given to you to begin with? This guy, doesn't he look like he was a hostage? Look at that. Doesn't he look all skinny and gaunt? I mean, he still has his jowls there. Still has his job, but he was a hostage for 505 days, blah, blah, blah. Really? That's an amazing thing. You know, he's still tan. You know, he's still relative. He's not all skinny. He's not all gray. Eyes aren't all sunk in any more than usual. And yet you're going to believe that he was a hostage. And the narratives that they give about their it's just such outlandish bullshit that there's no proof of. Unless, of course, they need some proof. Then for some reason, Hamas will release a video somewhere, you know, detailing, you know, people are starting to question where the fuck these how the fuck paragliders, Hamas used paragliders? What? Oh yeah, here's a video, the Hamas training with paragliders, and they, you know, you see? What's interesting too is, like when you look up the supposed October 7th footage, you know, the Hamas representatives, they have all these military fatigues on and they have tan on everywhere, but they always have their bright green headband on so you know exactly where to put the headshot. But so they're easily identifiable, right? But yet the training footage, they're like masked up all the way to the eyes. You can't see anything, no details. No details. Just so somebody doesn't see it. Hey, that's actually not a Hamas. That's an IDF guy. I know that guy. That's how that works. If you believe that Hamas is putting out videos detailing their tactics and training regimes, and you're an idiot. Why would they ever do that? You know, those clouds. Again, yep, I'm not real. I mean, look at the desperation that will start coming my way. Instead of anybody, you know, debunking what I'm saying or even acknowledging it, it's just this kind of dumb shit. And you have to ask yourself, like, why would that be? If I'm wrong, why don't they just address what I'm wrong? Why don't they do to me what I'm doing to them? Why don't they just debunk what I'm saying and you know, prove that I'm just some crazy crackpot conspiracy theorist? So, if you guys haven't watched Dick Gregory is a really interesting case. Because, you know, me being me, I have a hard time not thinking he's a company man doing company man shit. But the thing about Dick Gregory is, like, he was a huge star, and he actually was the first black man to win the presidential nomination. But it turned out the voting machines had been rigged, and they screwed up. They were supposed to be rigged to go with somebody else, but they accidentally went with Dick Gregory, which put him in the position, but then they took it back, right? Look at the desperation. Go to Virginia, go to Norfolk. Yeah, we have submarines, yep. Sure we do. Because it's always way more important that we talk about submarines instead of genocide. Right? They don't want us talking about the genocide. They don't want us talking about the foolishness that's being shown to us and all that stuff. They don't want us doing that. What's really important is how I view submarines. Gotta love it. So, one of the things that's always that Dick Gregory pointed out, he said that Malcolm was shot from the rafters. There were government agents in the rafters, and the show that we saw, get your hand out of my pocket, all that shit, was just the distraction, right? And How does a genocide exist if submarines don't? Well, there's plenty of videos of the genocide. There's not many videos of the submarines. Thank you for making it so obviously stupid. Good old Benji. Benji being another one of these, dumb chosen. I mean, I don't know. Like, they're so quick to prove it. Oh, call on me. Do me. Like, it's silly. They just can't help it. That's what happens when you're stupid. Arrogant and stupid. They believe themselves to be so superior. They've been fed this, oh, you're so handsome. Oh, you're the smartest boy ever. Oh, their goofy mothers that they still live with have been propping them up for such a long time that they actually believe the bullshit narrative. But they're stupid. They're fucking stupid. Oh. Look at how dumb they are. Yep, stay on top. Like, right, because I'm talking about pineapples, and then I'm talking about horses, and I'm not talking about all the same things. It's not the system that is the system that gives us the narrative that is desperately attacking the guy who challenges the narrative. No, don't point it out. Either I read the comments and I'm doing that wrong, or I don't read the comments and I'm doing that wrong. It's just desperation. Just desperation. Yep. Don't have a point. All that stuff. Yep. Gotcha. APAC. Yep. APAC shouldn't exist here. APAC should absolutely be shut down. And the fact that APAC is allowed to exist, the fact that this foreign group brags about manipulating the American government through their finances, and their financial contributions are just unlimited. Because again, we give them the $3.8 billion to begin with. So then they just turn around and use it how they want to use it. I mean, it's really fucking easy. Baby, your gift will catch a... Thanks, the gravy seal. You know what's funny too? Opinion on USS Liberty. What's the opinion? It's obvious. A lot of the times you have to look at the stories in what, they present you and then is hidden away. Like there's times when they have to talk about things because they happen. And then you look at how that is handled and how it's investigated. Like October 7th, right? You're supposed to believe the narrative that you're given when it doesn't stand up to any sort of scrutiny and there's no investigation. There's literally nothing to prove the narrative to you. I tried my best yesterday to find it. I literally put into the YouTube machine, Hamas attacks bad guy land. And, the only videos that come up are just like fucking easily dumb. Like it's either clearly fake or it's just kind of stupid, The footage of look, there's people running across a field. So that could easily be staged. I'm supposed to believe that people got out of their cars so they could run away from bullets. You're in something that can go 90 miles an hour, faster maybe, with, steel around you to protect you. And you're going to get out of that thing so you can run, 5-10 miles per hour? Like, what? How would that make sense? The videos of the people supposedly crying, there's no tears coming down their face. Or the one video where it's supposedly an attack on one of the villages or whatever, and yet there's only 4 people visible in the entire video. two of which are screaming screaming like TV tells us people scream. And then they're just crying and crying, but it's only 4 people in this whole village. Where the fuck is everybody else? Aren't those streets usually crowded? I haven't seen anything that proves anything to me. The couple videos that supposedly show the hostages being taken, I mean, these are really easily questionable videos. The one chick's being put into the back of a brand new Jeep Cherokee, or Jeep. You know? You see it consistently that supposedly these Hamas members have white Toyota trucks, brand new white Toyotas. Why do you think that is? Where do those white Toyotas come from? Every car that's visual that's in the shot, that's used in the presentation, is either white or gray. No blue cars, no red cars, no any other cars, just blue or gray. I mean, white or gray. Makes sense, doesn't it? And again, look at these comments. Look at how nobody is going to actually address what's being said. It's just more and more bullshit. That's me only now getting to see and make comment. Yeah, well, I mean, the fact that you don't see what happens to me happen anywhere else, that should wake you up. The amount of energy that's put into me for being wrong. I'm wrong and I'm crazy, yet all of this energy goes into me, well, more into you, trying to convince anybody watching me that I'm crazy. So don't listen to what he's saying. He's crazy. We don't debunk what he says, but he's crazy. You know? You don't see this shit anywhere. You don't see these same profiles anywhere. And you see the desperate attempt to constantly change the subject, and then, well, stay on topic. But then they're constantly trying to take the conversation off the topic. Constantly obsessed with me and my personal beliefs on things other than the bigger picture. Why would you be, why, there's nothing I do, nothing I believe, nothing I say, nothing I talk about that's more important than ending the genocide that's taking place right now. I mean, it's the same people that are constantly busted raping children and you know, controlling Hollywood through sexual assault. It's the same group that you know, no matter where you look, no matter what conspiracy you look into, if you go high enough, you're going to find the same group of people. And it's the only people that we're not allowed to talk about. Right? I could sit here and talk about the Jesuits and the Muslims and the Christians and the Illuminati and the Boulets and New World Orders and the CFRs, and you know, I could talk about all that shit all day long. Tartaria. You can have a really, really popular page if you talk about Tartaria or alternative history, as long as you don't talk about who presents us with this history, who keeps the alternative history from us. You have a very successful page. And even if you do sort of talk about the real picture, do you think bad guy land should exist? Fuck no. Has no right to exist whatsoever. It's absolutely insanity that we accommodate this cult. And that we just, that the idea that the people who live there, who have lived there, when they didn't take the deal that gave them 44% of their land, gave up 56% of their land, they lost some 86% of their land because of it. To a bloodthirsty, pedophilic, psychopathic cult. Like, that shit is insane. No mincing words on that one. We absolutely need to remove bad guy land. Immediately. But like I said, if I was Ian Carroll, because they have to allow certain people, like, there has to be some sort of opposition voice. If there was absolutely no opposition voice, then it would be really weird, right? But the fact that you have these Candace Owens, these people, Candace Owens is a fucking God believer. Black woman, God believer. Ian Carroll will tell you that it's not all the bad guys. It's not all the cult members that are bad. It's just the Zionists. And Ian Carroll just exploded. In the last year or so, suddenly this guy is everywhere. Racist. Bad guys aren't a race, dumbass. So can't be a racist when we're talking about a cult. Not something that you're born and can't change. Race is something that you can't convert to a race. If I can convert to your thing, then that's not a race. That's an option. That's a choice. You can't convert to being black no matter how many stereotypes you adopt. Just like black people can't convert to being white. So when somebody's dumb enough to say racist or call out something, we're not talking about a race of people. We're talking about a cult. And that any other version of it, we would call it a cult. Especially when you look at the ritual aspect of things. The blood libels, the metitza bipas, the mikvahs and shit like that. Like, this shit is all just crazy. Just crazy, disgusting behavior. And they're committing a genocide right now. And the vast majority of them really do say some horrendous things. And like the videos of them painting on a unibrow, painting on a mustache, blackening their teeth, and then putting on a hijab. This was a trend in bad guy land after video surfaced of hostages, Palestinian hostages, being brutalized. Making fun of them became a trend in bad guy land. Like, it's shit that most of us look at and go like, what the fuck? How could you possibly be that disgusting? Especially when you know the details that this genocide that's taking place, the majority of the men in that region had already been killed or taken hostage. So the majority of the people being killed are children. Women and children, but mainly children. We shouldn't bring it up. What's a conspiracy theory you got? I mean, isn't it strange how, again, look at the comments. Why do the comments keep trying to change the subject? Why would anybody be motivated? You come to the feed, you hear the person talking about the genocide, the cult, all this crazy shit. And you're like, no, I want to talk about this. You have the title of your video says one thing. So I want to talk about that one thing. Even though that's clearly the name of the podcast, whatever you want to call this podcast, I don't know. That's what I'm going to talk about. It's the only thing you could ever talk about. If that's the name of the show, that's the only thing you could talk about. And never mind the fact that I've done a pretty good debunking of this thing in the first 9 parts. My skeptical wife actually has to admit that something isn't right about what we're being shown. You know, so if you really want to have the submarine conversation, just go watch the first 9 parts. And you listen to anything that's said, and you debunk anything that's said. You debunk whatever narrative I've put out there, and, you know. I grew up next to the lake where MK Ultra started. Let's talk about, oh, see, there you go. Say one thing, but then say the next bullshit. The greatest thing MK Ultra ever did was convince us that they got rid of it. Oh yeah, they figured out mind control and shit like that, but then they were like, oh, we shouldn't use this. You know how stupid that is? I mean, this is the type of narrative that they give us. And one of the more successful MK Ultra campaigns is getting black people to commit crimes at the utterance of a word. You know, I'd be more quick to say it because I don't give a shit. It doesn't bother me saying the shit. But I know that there are desperate agents looking for me to say certain words so they can report it. So I think you guys all know what I mean by N-bombs. And I hate saying it that way, but there are guidelines and restrictions that we have to dance around. But the fact that they've convinced black people to respond, to commit crime, to do things they normally wouldn't do, to you know, separate and you know, compartmentalize, and the good person that they normally are can just switch into this crime committing psycho at the utterance of a phrase. You know, that you would even allow people to have that kind of power over you, that black people would give white people that kind of power to begin with, just shows you that it's a ruse. But if you think about it, well, you utter the phrase, because, you know, normally it's stupid people who can't come up with, like, they know they've lost, and what you're saying is hurting them. So they're going to try to hurt you back. So they can't, you know, logically out-argue you or whatever. So they start dropping these words that they've been programmed will help them win the fight. If you say this, then the black person will lose their mind. And once they get angry, they're not gonna be as sharp as they were. But so the black person, you know, the white person's losing, and so they get desperate, they utter the word, and now they've created themselves to be the victim because the black person then attacks, and blacks are the only ones that are supposed to be nonviolent. Blacks were the ones that were supposed to allow themselves to be beaten and not fight back. That was the sign of the good blacks. That was the sign of the progressive blacks, the ones that wouldn't fight back. The nonviolent protest. It's insane. It's all really obvious too. But nowadays, you know, utter the phrase, black person attacks. Now, black person is arrested and now has to have bad guy lawyer, bad guy judge, paying fines, maybe even goes to the jail or the prison where you know, bad guys own that. White person goes to the bad guy owned hospital. Bad guy insurance gets billed, and bad guy doctors make money. Bad guy whole system makes money on that end. And then again, they also get involved with a bad guy lawyer, bad guy judge. You know, bad guys are the only ones that benefit from that. And as long as black people and white people are fighting each other, we're not focused on the bad guys pulling the strings. Do you think it works the other way around here? I've seen every race of person pull out the low-hanging fruit, lack of racial disparities. It's not exclusive to white people. What does that, I mean, I don't understand. Yes, this thing has been programmed into our culture, this weapon. But I can tell you the one word that nobody says starts with K. That's the bad guys. Nobody utters that word. It's not like it's been adapted and everybody uses it in songs and what's up, my K? What's up, my K? How you doing, my K? Although they do, actually, now I think about it, if you watch Hollywoodism, there's a scene where, from a movie that was made, where the bad guy studio head is interviewing one of the bad guy writers, and he's saying, the writers are the key. The writers make the big bucks and blah, blah, blah. And he says, and I'm the biggest, baddest K in town. And nobody's gonna, but they do that. Bro, the amount of shit I've had the last week as a direct result of being here is insane. Fill you in elsewhere. So this is somebody that is saying that because they come to my feed, they exist in this world, they exist in this truther sphere, and they never get any sort of real interference. Yet when they come to my feed, they get attacked. Out of my feed. People find who they are through Facebook and email and phone calls and, harass their family, call their parents, and just do all kinds of, it's the craziest shit. For somebody that's wrong, it's weird. I keep trying to tell people rich people are keeping us racist. Not rich people. It's not rich people. There are plenty of rich people who fall into the category. Like, I don't know what you consider rich, but it's not rich people. It's the bad guys. It's the cult. The cult keeps us racist because it insulates them. It shelters them. While we're busy acting like black people act like white people pull the strings, and for some weird reason, white people act like black people have a lot more power than they actually do. Black people make up 13% of the population. White people make up 69% of the population, unless, of course, they have Hispanic in their backgrounds. Blech. Then it's only, but they claim to be white. But if they have Hispanic in their backgrounds and claim to be white, you take those people out, then it's only 55%. Black people don't do anything. Literally, nothing. It's just a joke. It's an illusion. 13% is just nothing. Nothing. You wouldn't do anything because it had a 13% chance of success. If I gave you a parachute and said, jump out the plane, that parachute has a 13% chance of opening. How many of you would actually do it? None of you. Of course, we have the dumb Christian coming through, trying his best to distract and dissuade. If Jesus was the answer, what's Jesus waiting on? And the thing is, again, it turns into this whole, you Christians just don't understand the history of your belief structure and how stupid it is and how it's absolutely just another piece of the bad guy control scheme. This is how they get us to fucking hate each other through these different cults they create. And the crazy part is with Christianity, it's not even like a secret. Even Christians will say, well, Jesus was a bad guy. He was. The whole narrative is all bad guy stories. All the characters are bad guys. And yet they just don't want to acknowledge that part. Gentiles are mentioned throughout the Bible as like this separate group, not a part of the the main group, not the main story. They're the, they're the extras. The Bible says we several times in it. And it's not talking about Gentiles at that point. But it's like you guys just don't want to acknowledge that, so you don't. And you want to believe that there's this God that's just watching and waiting, to finally send Jesus to come down and basically kill everybody. It's just so stupid to have such a fucking arrogant, ridiculous belief structure that you think, like, a Christian's best case scenario is that Jesus finally comes down, the 13 decent Christians that exist get raptured, and everybody else dies in Armageddon. Never mind that there are billions and billions of people who never even heard of Christianity, or maybe have heard of it in sort of passing, but they have no fucking concept of it. So when they're supposedly at the pearly gates and St. Peter is going through the interview process, which I would imagine takes a long time when it's 8 billion people, must have some proxies put in place, that, they're going to be asked if they accept Jesus as their Lord and Savior, and if they don't, they go burn in hell for all of eternity. They don't even know who the fuck Jesus is. Children, tons and tons and thousands, millions, billions of children are going to be asked a question that they don't understand, and if they don't answer the right way, they're going to burn in hell for all of eternity. Like, do you not get how just ridiculous that is? Were the comments shut off again? Rich people don't care about the poor. They do, but not in a compassionate way. The whole thing about when people start talking about depopulation and shit, you have to understand, rich people, the bad guys, live in a world where, they wake up and hey, honey, let's head over to that restaurant like in Italy, and then we'll go to Japan for a festival here or there, and then we'll head over and get some skiing done. But they live in a situation where they, the life they live is beyond anything we can imagine. And they want to be able to go to Burning Man and go to this place and and the only way they can do all that and live the life that they want to live is to be ready already when they get there. And the only way that happens is if they have a bunch of poor goyim there to staff it. And you can only have that if the goyim. And you can only have that if the goyim then have families, and then they have little stupid arcades and bowling alleys and roller skating rinks and all these little things to keep us busy. And we got to have the grocery stores, and you got to have the malls, and you can actually use the situation to fatten the pockets and create more control. But at the end of the day, it's just so that they can live the life they want to live. So they can go wherever they want to go, whenever they want to go there. So we're always sitting there waiting to oh shit, here comes a rich person here. I'm going to get the person here. I'm going to get their door for them. Hello, Mr. So-and-so. So great to see you, blah, 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 blah. Yes, I'll have your car for you ready, and yep, I'll wash it for you, sir. And yep, I'll have it filled here for you. And if you need anything at all, just say so. We'll get it for you. Oh, just say so. We'll get it for you. That's the life that they bought and paid for by. And they're not going to fuck that up. Depopulation would mean they would have to fix their own cars. They would have to cook their own French fries and shit. They're not about to do that. They don't even know how. They need us. And we just don't realize how valuable we are. They can't wipe us out. If they wiped us out, they'd fall apart. What are they going to do? The reason why Bad Guy Land didn't make it wasn't because it was originally one of the original proposed locations was in Uganda. And the consensus was that the area was too far away, and that it would require them to be, self-sustaining, farming and all that. And they're not the type that are going to do the work necessary to live. They believe that each one of them should have 2,800 slaves. Us Goyim slaves. It's weird that the comments got shut off so early this time. If you're wondering why I'm not reading your comments, well, I don't see them. I'm sure you watch people all the time. Oh, comments have been offered. You've seen that before. That's how social media works, right, guys? Nothing going on here. Nothing strange here. Nothing out of the ordinary here.